Hi, in this video I want to give a very brief overview of the development of the next generation science standards. Before I start, I want to emphasize that they're called next generation science standards. They're not Common Core. Common Core was a very specific developmental process and relates only to the Common Core state standards for English language arts and mathematics. So there will not be Science Common Core. Instead, we'll have the next generation science standards. Now, what makes that a little bit more confusing is that the Common Core State Standards for English Language Arts do have a section of standards related to literacy for science and technical fields. However, that section of standards are just for literacy aspects related to teaching science. So how do students interact with information, communicate information, reading comprehension, the types of things they're reading in class, those literacy aspects of what we do as science teachers. And I think what you'll see as you learn more about the next generation science standards is that they are very complementary to the Common Core efforts. However, it's important to recognize that the development process for the two is different, hence the name Next Generation Science Standards instead of Common Core. So the developmental process for Next Generation Science Standards involved quite a few steps. The first aspect is, unlike Common Core, this process was not started by the National Governors Association, and instead it was a number of groups looking and saying, we need to have new science standards. It would be good to have science standards that states could rally around. So it's again, like Common Core, it's not a federal approach. It involves states, and it's much more of a grassroots and states-based effort. So the development has been funded primarily by a grant from the Carnegie Foundation, and it involves the National Research Council, the National Science Teachers Association, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and Achieve, which also was involved in took the lead in writing the Common Core standards. The first step in the process was to create it's called the framework, or the framework for K-12 science education. So what happened at this stage was the National Research Council convened expert committees with a variety of different perspectives on science, on education, classroom teachers, and just a variety of different perspectives to get the science right. So if we're going to create new science standards, what are the key ideas that students should be learning, and also how should they learn it? So what have we learned over the past 20 years especially about how students learn science, and what would that look like in the classroom? So this first step was developing this framework document, which now serves as the basis for the next generation science standards. Then Achieve kind of moved into the lead and developed writing teams, again, with content experts, so scientists, engineers, education experts, so people who do research into how students learn science, but also experts in other areas as far as special needs students, English language learners, and experts in how students from diverse populations learn science, and also a large number of classroom teachers were engaged in writing teams to start drafting the standards. So they went through a process where they created a first draft, which then went out for a review process, an open review process to the general public. They took the results from that, created a second draft, which came out in January of 2013. Again, there was a window for public review, and then in April of 2013 released this final draft. What's important, I think, to realize is that throughout this entire process, there's been a very robust and transparent review process. So the review process was managed in a number of different ways. First, there was the general public open reviews, but there were also specific reviews that were done by groups convened by the National Science Teachers Association, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, Achieve themselves engaged groups, especially state level groups throughout the country, and also put together a group of of 26 lead states to really make sure that the development process was robust and transparent, so that it reflects what we value in terms of science education.